Hey everyone, welcome back to Sip and Talk. You wouldn't believe this, okay. So I'm at the grocery store the other day.
Uh-oh.
And this guy, right?
Yeah.
Totally cuts me off.
No way.
In the pumpkin spice latte aisle.
I swear pumpkin spice season brings out the worst in some people.
Right.
Just desperate for their fix, I guess.
Speaking of things that are maybe a little addictive.
Yeah.
You sent me this doc, Exposing China's United Front Tactics.
Yeah.
Pretty intense title.
It is fascinating stuff, actually.
What is the deal with this United Front anyway?
So think of it like, a global PR campaign.
Okay.
But way more shadowiness
Okay.
and geopolitical stakes.
Gotcha.
It's how the Chinese government tries to influence people. Specifically, we're looking at Taiwanese influencers.
Okay.
Using this network called the United Front.
So we wanted to get a clearer picture of what this whole United Front thing is, right? What they do, how they do it, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Are we talking straight up propaganda?
It's definitely more nuanced than just blasting out propaganda.
Okay.
It's about subtly shaping perceptions, influencing beliefs.
Right.
Ultimately trying to get people to make decisions that align with China's interests.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they call cognitive warfare.
Cognitive warfare.
Yeah.
That sounds intense.
Mm-hmm.
So they're messing with people's minds.
Well, not quite stealing dreams, but definitely aiming to influence thinking.
Okay.
Imagine those targeted ads that seem to know exactly what you want to buy.
Yeah.
But on a much grander scale, targeting beliefs and behaviors on a national level.
Wow. Okay, that is scary.
Yeah.
So how does this play out with Taiwan?
Right. So Taiwan has this complex history with mainland China.
It does, yeah.
China claims Taiwan as part of its territory,
Right.
while Taiwan functions as an independent democracy.
Right.
There's a lot of tension, and China's been stepping up its efforts to exert its influence.
Yeah.
And the United Front is a key part of their strategy.
So they're trying to win over the hearts and minds of the Taiwanese people.
Exactly.
Rather than, resorting to something more drastic.
It's about making unification seem like the natural and desirable outcome.
Right.
Both for the Taiwanese people and for the international community.
So sneaky.
Yeah. They're playing the long game.
And this documentary, it focuses on one guy's story, right?
Yeah.
Chen Boyuan, the Taiwanese rapper.
Yes. Chen Boyuan's story is almost like a cautionary tale. He was initially drawn in by the United Front's promises, connecting with his heritage, opportunities in the Chinese music industry.
Right.
He even joined a Shaolin temple in Henan when he was only 13.
Hold up. Shaolin Temple.
Yeah.
Like Kung Fu monks.
Right.
I never would have guessed that was part of this whole influence game.
Well, according to Chen, even there, he started experiencing a heavy dose of pro-China sentiment. Almost like a subtle indoctrination, you could say.
So they're starting young.
Yeah.
And this continued even when he went to study at Wakio University.
Exactly.
That's the one directly under the United Front Work Department, right?
Exactly.
Oh.
He describes the curriculum being heavily biased, downplaying any negative aspects of China's history.
Right.
And really pushing this narrative of rejuvenation of the Chinese nation.
So basically rewriting history to fit their agenda.
Yeah, you could say that.
But he eventually turned against the United Front.
He did, yeah.
What happened? Did he suddenly realize they were trying to, brainwash him?
Well, it wasn't a sudden realization. It was more like a gradual disillusionment. He faced some serious betrayals and exploitation in the Chinese music industry.
Oh, no.
His music was essentially used for propaganda. He got cheated out of royalties. Contracts were broken. Oh, man, a whole 9 yards.
So they used him up and then tossed him aside. Classic.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it gets worse, right? He didn't just quietly disappear. He actually started speaking out against them.
Yeah, and that's when things got really nasty.
Uh-huh.
He became a target of online attacks, smear campaigns, even accused of being a Taiwan independence advocate.
Ironic, considering he was initially pro-China.
Talk about adding insult to injury. This is like a real-life spy thriller. But his story is a pretty stark example of how these tactics can affect people's lives, right?
Absolutely. Chen's case is a powerful illustration of how the United Front operates.
Right.
And the potential consequences for those who get caught in the crosshairs.
So besides this whole Shaolin Temple thing, what other tactics are we talking about here? What's their playbook?
Well, this documentary highlights a few key strategies they use.
Okay.
For one, they really play up the whole shared heritage angle,
right,
emphasizing cultural and ethnic ties to foster a sense of unity with mainland China.
Yeah. I can see how that would be appealing to people, especially those who are interested in their roots and cultural connections.
Right.
Makes it seem less like a political takeover and more like a family reunion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the economic incentive angle.
They offer attractive business opportunities, scholarships, even government subsidies to Taiwanese individuals and businesses willing to cooperate.
Follow the money, right?
Yeah.
Everyone loves a good deal.
Exactly.
But it sounds like they also go for more aggressive approaches.
They do.
Like those smear campaigns against Chen Boyuan.
Right.
Do they control the media in Taiwan too?
They don't have direct control over Taiwanese media, but they definitely use media and social media to try and control the narrative.
Yeah.
Promoting pro-China views, spreading disinformation, attacking critics, all aimed at shaping public opinion.
So they're playing both sides, the soft cultural approach and then the hardball, no-holds-barred tactics.
They are.
This is getting seriously shady.
Yeah.
But hold on, I read that there's some really juicy stuff in this documentary.
Oh, yeah.
Actual recordings of phone calls between influencers and Chinese officials.
That's pretty intense.
That's what I call evidence.
Yeah.
All right, we got to dive into those calls.
Let's do it.
What exactly are they talking about? Spill the tea.
Well, let's save that juicy gossip for part 2. Okay, so you want to spill the tea.
Yeah.
These phone call recordings, they're like peeking behind the curtain of a very carefully staged production.
Oh, really?
We hear conversations about financial incentives for pro-China content.
Okay.
Scripted talking points, even instructions on how to spin narratives.
So they're straight up telling these influencers what to say.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's messed up.
It really exposes the orchestrated nature of a lot of what we see online.
You got
One call, it's with the president of the Strait Herald, a state-owned newspaper in China.
Right.
They're discussing plans to create, get this, propaganda songs.
Propaganda songs, like catchy tunes with hidden messages about loving the motherland.
Yeah, something like that.
That's kind of hilarious.
It is pretty funny.
But also kind of creepy.
Right. It shows how they're using all sorts of creative, even seemingly harmless avenues to push their agenda.
So it's not just music.
No, not at all.
Cultural events, tourism initiatives, even youth entrepreneurship programs.
Exactly. All become tools in this influence game.
Wow. So it's like this whole multi-pronged strategy infiltrating all these different areas of life. It's crazy.
But you know, you mentioned earlier that this whole United Front thing targets first-time visitors to China.
Yeah.
Why focus on them specifically?
I don't know why.
Think about it. First-time visitors, they're coming in with fresh eyes.
Okay.
Maybe some romanticized notions about China.
Right.
They're more susceptible to being impressed by the hospitality, the cultural attractions, all that carefully curated stuff.
Okay.
It's about making a good first impression, planting those seeds of positive sentiment.
So it's like, welcome to China. Here's a fortune cookie with a side of pro-unification message.
Exactly.
Sneaky.
It's about shaping perceptions early on.
Right.
Before any critical thinking or skepticism has a chance to kick in.
I see.
Okay, so we've talked about the what and the how. Right.
But I think a lot of people are wondering, so what?
Yeah.
Why should we care about this whole United Front thing?
Right. Yeah.
How does it affect, regular people like us?
Yeah, that's the question.
That's the crucial question, right?
Is.
And I think there are a few key reasons why this matters.
Okay.
Firstly, it undermines trust. When we start to question the authenticity of everything we see online, when we suspect hidden agendas everywhere, it erodes trust in media, in institutions.
Yeah, that's true.
Even in each other.
If everything is potentially fake news or propaganda, how do we even know what to believe anymore?
Exactly.
It's exhausting.
And that's exactly the kind of environment they want to create. One of confusion, cynicism, and apathy.
Oh, wow.
It becomes easier to exert control when people just throw up their hands and say, forget it, I don't even care anymore.
So it's not just about controlling Taiwan. It's about creating a world where everyone is too suspicious and disillusioned to even fight back. That's one way to put it.
Man, these guys are playing 4D chess while we're still stuck on checkers.
They're thinking long-term, strategically. And we need to catch up if we want to counter their moves.
Okay, so besides becoming super skeptical of everything we see online, which, let's face it, we already are, what can we do to fight back against this kind of influence?
That's the big question.
Should we all just go off the grid and live in a yurt in the mountains?
Well, if that's your thing, go for it.
Maybe.
But for those of us who aren't quite ready to embrace the hermit life, there are a few things we can do.
Okay.
First and foremost, support independent journalism and fact-checking initiatives.
That's a good one.
A well-informed public is much harder to manipulate.
Right. Can't just rely on those clickbait headlines and social media rants for our news.
Exactly.
Got to go deeper, check those sources, make sure we're getting the real deal.
Absolutely.
That helps. You know what they say? Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
That's right.
Let's shine a light on these tactics.
Yeah.
Expose them for what they are and make it harder for them to work.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay.
And remember, this isn't just about China or Taiwan.
It's not.
This kind of manipulation is happening all over the world.
Oh, wow.
We all need to be more vigilant, more discerning, more aware of the forces that are trying to shape our thoughts and beliefs.
This whole conversation has been a real eye-opener.
It has.
Yeah.
It's good.
I'm starting to see those United Front tentacles everywhere. It's like they're infiltrating every aspect of our lives.
And that's the danger of cognitive warfare.
Yeah.
It's often subtle, insidious,
yeah,
and it can creep up on you before you even realize it. But the good news is, awareness is the first step to resistance.
It's good news.
By understanding the tactics being used against us, we can start to develop strategies to counter them.
So on a personal level, besides becoming a conspiracy theorist and wearing a tinfoil hat everywhere...
Well, a tinfoil hat never hurts.
True.
But seriously, there are a few things we can all do to make ourselves less susceptible to manipulation.
Okay, like what?
First, be critical of the information you consume.
Okay.
Don't just passively accept what you see on social media.
Right.
Or even from mainstream news outlets. Ask questions, challenge assumptions.
Okay.
Seek out multiple perspectives.
So basically, don't be a sheep.
Exactly.
Think for yourself, people.
And be wary of emotional appeals or overly simplistic narratives.
Okay.
Those are often red flags for propaganda. Remember, the truth is usually much more nuanced and complex than any catchy slogan or viral meme.
Yeah, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
And if it makes you feel really angry or scared, take a step back and ask yourself, who benefits from me feeling this way?
That's a great point.
Is it?
Emotions can be powerful motivators.
They can.
And manipulators know how to exploit that. So stay calm, stay critical, and always be willing to question your own assumptions.
All right, so we're not completely powerless in this fight.
We're not.
There are things we can do to make a difference.
There are.
I'm feeling a little more optimistic now.
That's good to hear.
But I'm also feeling a little parched after all this deep thinking.
I sure ya.
How about we move on to part 3?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're back for the final round of this deep dive into the United Front.
All right.
My head is still spinning from all this talk about cognitive warfare and propaganda.
It's a lot to process, for sure.
You know, we were talking earlier about how the United Front uses these seemingly positive cultural exchanges as a way to subtly influence people.
You know, like the whole Shaolin Temple thing, right?
Exactly. They lure you in with the promise of kung fu and cultural immersion, and then, bam, hit you with the pro-China messaging.
It's all very carefully calculated.
It's sneaky, for sure. They're playing the long game, trying to create this alternate reality where everything is harmonious.
And where unification seems like the only logical outcome.
Right. Like, it's just a matter of time before Taiwan just naturally becomes part of China.
Exactly.
And they're not just relying on subtle persuasion either.
No, they're definitely willing to play hardball.
We talked about those financial incentives, the scholarships, the business subsidies. It's all about making it worth your while to cooperate.
Sure, the money, right.
But then there's the flip side, the aggressive tactics, the online harassment, the smear campaigns.
Right. They'll use whatever means necessary to silence dissent and control the narrative.
Kind of like a good cop, bad cop routine.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
They're trying to have it both ways. The friendly face of cultural exchange and the iron fist of information control.
It's a classic strategy.
And social media has become their weapon of choice.
Absolutely. It's the perfect platform for spreading propaganda and manipulating public opinion.
It's hard to know what to believe anymore, you know?
I hear you. It's a real challenge.
This whole conversation has been a real eye-opener for me. I'm starting to see those United Front tentacles everywhere.
That's the thing about cognitive warfare. It's often subtle and insidious.
It creeps up on you.
Until you realize you've been influenced without even knowing it.
But the good news is, awareness is the first step to resistance.
That's right. The more we know about these tactics, the better equipped we are to counter them.
So what can we do?
Well, for starters, be critical of the information you consume.
Okay.
Don't just take things at face value, especially online.
Right. Do your own research.
Exactly. Check your sources. Look for multiple perspectives.
Don't be afraid to question things.
And be wary of emotional appeals and overly simplistic narratives. Those are often red flags for propaganda.
It's like they say, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly.
And if it makes you really angry or scared, take a step back and ask yourself, who benefits from you feeling that way?
That's a great point.
Because sometimes those strong emotions are being deliberately manipulated.
Right. They're trying to hijack your emotions and use them to their advantage.
So we need to stay vigilant, stay informed, and stay critical.
Absolutely. Those are our best defenses against this kind of manipulation.
This has been a heavy conversation.
It has.
But I'm glad we had it.
Me too.
It's important to be aware of these issues.
Definitely.
And to talk about them openly.
I think we all need a drink after this.
I know I do. But hey, if you're looking for some liquid therapy and maybe some lighter conversation, be sure to check out our buddy Micky over at Mickytolife.
Oh yeah, Micky's the best.
He's got a whole YouTube channel dedicated to travel, good times.
And whiskey.
Lots and lots of whiskey.
So if you want to escape the world of propaganda and an intrigue for a while,
and unwind with some delicious whiskey reviews,
head on over to Mickytolife.
We'll catch you next time on Sip and Talk.